As you can see, we're up $2,600, risking $500, which is a really nice move so far. And we were right about our idea, but you have to be able to follow your process and let trades fully run. Our ultimate goal is to have an over $10,000 profit day. In this video, I'm going to take you through an entire day of my live crypto trading, and I'm going to show you inside my entire process, my strategy, the indicators that I use, as well as specific trade entries, showing the real profits and losses that I take each day, so you can basically watch and learn from my trading. I've been day trading for over 8 years now, and I've been documenting this process on YouTube, but these live trade videos are something that I like to do to show you what's going on our trading team and to show you the real realities of me trading in real time. We always get requests for live trade videos, so in this video, if you're brand new to trading or you watch these videos often, I'm going to show you a crash course of how I actually set up everything on my monitors, all the tech that I use, what I look for each specific day to find setups, me finding and taking these specific trade setups, and the mindset when I'm actually entering and exiting the market. And the goal today is to see if we can reach over $4,000 in daily profit. And our ultimate goal is to have an over $10,000 profit day. So we're going to see if we can get that done, and we're going to hop into our session. It's about 9:30 right now. I'm going to grab a coffee, and then we're going to look to try to find our first trade. So lately in crypto, there's been a lot of volatility. So first thing I want to do is get my bearings on where the market is likely to move for the day. Also what my ranges are. So then I can start to get sort of a bigger picture of what's going on and where I'm going to find those smaller day trading opportunities. So I'm going to sort of start big and then zooming. First things first, I want to show you what I have on my monitor. So right here, I'm using TradingView for my main charting. You can see I've done a little bit of analysis already on my Solana chart, and I'm doing some analysis on Ethereum as well. I'm going to show you how I'm doing that in a second. I also have my exchange pulled up over here, which is where I'm actually going to be executing the trades. And then in this lower area, I have my trading plan on Notion, which if you follow me on Instagram, in the description, it's in a tool pack that I'll DM over to you. If you just DM me the word tools, I'll have this sent over. And so this allows me to log my trades, all of my information, which I'll track right here, as well as a procedure for me to follow depending on which system I'm trading. So today I'm going to be trading something called a smog strategy. It's basically trying to find areas where the market is likely to reverse and then make continuations in the opposite direction. So I'm going to be following this sort of protocol for the day, which we're going to get into in just a second. Over here on the other monitor, I just moved it over for a second. I have what's called a multi-time frame view. This is going to show me whatever pair I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at the Dow Jones on whatever frequency that I want. So if I want to look at Solana, say for example, here on a 1 minute time frame, so each candle is 1 minute worth of price movement, so it's really zoomed in. I can also click on these other boxes where it can show me my daily analysis on Solana. If I want to click to, for example, say a 1 hour, I can have a 1 hour, a 1 day, and then a 1 minute all on that view, so I can get sort of a zoomed out perspective like I was talking about before. Additionally, I'm always going to be looking at my economic calendar. So on TradingView, I'm pulling up this button here. This is going to show us all the high impact news that is going to move the markets. As day traders, we want to pay attention to fundamental things that are going to move the market. So I toggle on the high importance button here. You can see the UK has an inflation report coming out, which is maybe going to affect the market slightly, but what we are looking for is at 2 p.m. we also have FOMC in the US, which is going to be a major catalyst for move in the markets. So I'm going to be showing you how I trade into this news volatility. Hopefully it ends up in a gain, but nonetheless, I'm going to show you how I navigate that. But that's basically what we have for high impact news for the day. So whenever I'm sitting down at my desk, I'm basically going to pop open all my resources and start on my pre-session checklist. So first step is checking for high important news, which we just did. The next thing is setting up our daily bias and taking a look at the broader perspective in the market. So right now we're trading back into sort of a discounted zone off of this overall move that we've just made up. We're trading back down towards sort of the middle point of it. So I would expect to potentially get a flip that we can play into on the long side. Additionally, what I am seeing on a larger time frame is that we had bounce points off of this level. This level broke under, reclaimed it, tested it again, broke under it, tested it, and then failed. So this is a massive resistance point right in here where we expected for the price to roll over. Now we're sort of free falling on Solana. The markets in crypto have been really rolling off. The dollar is really strong right now. So if we look at a slightly different view on the day, right, we also have these highs, these highs, these highs, big push up, retest here, reclaim, and then another retest. So I wouldn't be too surprised considering we're reclaiming this overall area here to get a quick bounce potentially off of this, which could open up a temporary long opportunity to buy into the market, followed by if we are to break this level, I'm going to be playing off of this level. If we see a really big break for it, it's really bearish for the market. I'm going to be playing to the downside, which means I can basically profit off of the market moving down. So we're going to be looking for temporary longs, and then if it breaks this level, shorts. So I'm going to keep my mind on this chart over here, and now I'm going to start doing analysis on this current trend right here. So what's coming to my mind immediately is first using something called a Fibonacci retracement, and I'm going to look at this overall trend right here. So that's step 2. Step 3 is going to be setting up our tools, which we already have set up, and then it's down to checking for smart alerts activity and adding cryptos to our watch list. What I do when I'm day trading is effectively flip between Ethereum and Solana and see which ones are providing me the better price action. The reason I do this is because I know how the price moves. Something that's really important that I've noticed as a trader, you want to know how your pairs move and just study the price action. It also looks like Ethereum is forming some really nice potential opportunities. So I do have ETH and SOL pulled up on this chart. I actually want to take an approach on ETH and show you what I'm looking at because I do see a potential trade opportunity. Okay, so let's pull up ETH so that we're ready to go if anything. So with this strategy, I'm basically looking for a trend that has been moving up that breaks underneath one of these critical levels where there's an entry on the underside of this trend, ideally into something called a fair value gap. Now I have a ton of videos talking about what a fair value gap is. It's basically when you have 3 sequential candles where the wick of the first candle and the wick of the third candle don't overlap, leaving this space in between. This is oftentimes a really pivotal key area to be able to enter the markets. So if you do this in conjunction with something called a change of character, you're going to see how this works as you watch more and more examples of me doing this. But basically, whenever you get a candle to push underneath one of these higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, that's a change of character. So having those 3 things in conjunction with things that I can't really share with you because it's sort of proprietary data on our private trading team, this is going to get us close enough. And this is sort of the core of what I'm looking at when I'm finding trades. Mind you, this is on a 5-minute time frame. So I'm actually going to go flip back down to a 1, but I do love the fact that we just broke underneath this key level. So the next thing that I'm looking at is trying to find a target point. Basically, if ETH wants to come back up and retest this area right here, notice how we do have a sell signal. We now have a buy signal coming in right here as well, but I would still be tempted to target this fair value gap for a few reasons if the price wants to even come up to that level. The first reason being that we have this sort of invisible resistance line where it was support broken down, and now it's going to test it guaranteed as resistance if we want to pop up to this level. And if I sort of mark off this level, you can see if we scroll out, this is also a really key other level where we've gotten support, consolidation, big break, resistance, support right in here. So this could be a really critical level for me to play into now that the price is broken underneath it, for it to come back into and roll down. So I am going to be watching this as a critical zone. So I'm going to set a marker here. I'm going to kind of set up a hasty position right now as well in case this does want to flip up. So I'll click on this tool. I'm just going to go into the midpoint of this fair value gap, and I'm putting my stop loss outside of this group of candles here right into this midpoint zone. And the reason I'm doing this is because I really want, if the price is going to come up, I want this to come up here and test this trend and fail off of this trend before my stop loss is triggered. So if this takes too long to develop, I might not actually take the trade because I don't want it to retest this trend before it's triggering my stop loss. And I'm trying to keep my stop loss nice and tight so that I can basically maximize the risk reward that I can make trade. The bigger I make my stop loss, the less reward that I get if I'm right about that level. So I'm trying to keep this really tight into this grouping of candles here so that if I am right, we do get a roll off, I'm trying to get 8 or 9x what I'm risking on the trade. And that's how you're able to let your winners run and contain your losses in trading. So what I'm going to do is click into this indicator section. I'm going to click on the Nevitrade position calculator. This is also something that you can add to your trading view. It's in the tools as well. So follow me on Instagram, DM me tools, and you'll have this added to your chart. But basically, see how it says entry? I'm going to click on my entry. I'm going to click on my take profit, and then I'm going to click on my stop loss level. Then I can input the dollar amount that I want to risk. In this case, I'm going to be risking 500, and that's going to show me my expected profit on the trade, my entry, as well as the quantity that I need to add on my exchange to be able to risk that dollar amount and have that potential profit. I have an alert set here on ETH. So let's go back over and see what's going on with Solana. So now we're starting to respond off of this key level again. So you'll see if we look at these side by side, this low was effectively the exact low that we tested off time and time again. So if this is to make a nice reversal, I wouldn't be surprised to see this sort of be a temporary bottom. Also considering that if I take a fib from this level, I would ideally love for it to hit off of this key level, which would be the 61.8, and then take a reversal. So I'm going to be watching this temporary price action and sort of reading this trend to try to play a long into this. So I kind of have a few different opportunities. Mind you, we're not going to be right about every opportunity. So we kind of want to just put ourselves in positions where if we're wrong about one and right about the other, the idea is if we're picking areas where we think price is going to drop significantly or increase significantly, say for example, we get into this one and this one doesn't work. We take -1 or $500. But in that same scenario, say we're in on this one, we get our positive move. That's going to give us positive 5.6, which is going to net us tops out at 4.6, which is going to be over $2,000 in profit. So it's okay to be wrong about your ideas. We just want to set ourselves up with some ideas in general. So we have our thesis on Ethereum. We have our thesis on Solana. Now we're going to see if we can get into one of these. All right. So on Sol here, we did start to get some momentum into the market. So I snagged into a position here on our fair value gap right at this change of character that we were talking about before. So we have been moving down substantially in this market trend. We get a change of character. We get a fair value gap into this critical level here, which was the last touch point before a massive run up. So breaking it and retesting it as support could potentially lead us to get some momentum into the market for the rest of the day. If this wants to start to move up and break through this whole structure, we could be looking at a pretty substantial profit. If this is to break down and make new lows, we'll look for other opportunities and keep our risk contained. That's the name of the game. But I did want to allow ourselves to play into a momentum shift in the market if we are to get it. So we're going to see if we can get up to this level. And this level, if we are to be able to hit it, we're going to be able to reduce our risk down to zero. So hopefully we do get some momentum into this level and break through it. So now it's either we take a $500-$600 loss or we get to reduce our risk to zero. So we are starting to get a move that looks good. I need to see a candle close. We have 10 seconds left on this candle. I want to see it close above this high here and I can reduce my risk. So we're going to see, get there, and we are. Okay, so now I'm reducing risk down to my entry zone. Okay, so really starting to get a nice move here. And this is one of the hardest parts of being in this situation because you can see we're up $2,600, risking $500, which is a really nice move so far. And we were right about our idea, but you have to be able to follow your process and let trades fully run. I have a take profit zone. I want to capture this move and really let it fully exhaust. So it is tempting to take trades off as soon as you see a profit, but in order for yourself to be profitable, you really need to let trades run fully. So I'm fighting the urge, obviously, as a human being to lock in $2,500, which is basically 5 risk factors in order to allow this trend to really fully push through. And if I'm able to make, closer to $5,000, then I lock in basically 10 losses that I can take before I'm at the break even level for the day, which is really going to build me that buffer and allow me to be a little bit risk on to really be able to push some profitability and some money into my account. Basically, this is a risk-free trade. If this comes back down and wants to stop us out for break even, that's just the reality of trading and letting trades run. All right, so we're starting to run into this fair value gap resistance here. So I'm going to go ahead and take off this trade for about $3,200. If this continues to run up higher, that's fine. This is my first trade, and I was basically able to lock in 6.4 risk factors off of the first trade. So if this continues to run, that's great. I'm going to look for other opportunities, but now we have locked in $3,200 nearly on the day. We haven't really got any sort of pullback on this trend yet, which is kind of a rare thing on an entry. I do see this as a potential resistance zone on multiple time frames and multiple charts. So I did take profit off of here. If this continues to run, that's fine, but beautiful, beautiful first trade on the day to open up. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my trade journal now. Today is Wednesday, so I'm going to start inputting all of this information. 1 minute time frame. This was a long, nice juicy win to start off. So after slippage and fees, we ended up making 31.51. I also like to have a little confidence meter here that shows me how I was feeling when I got into the trade initially. I wasn't super confident about this entry just because it was a small fair value gap. I did like the change of character, so I'm honestly rating this a 2 out of 5. It wasn't the best perfect setup by any measure. So now I have the first trade log, $3,100 in the bank. I'm gonna go eat some breakfast, let the market develop, and then hopefully we're gonna find trade number 2. All right, so I'm super lazy to cook breakfast because when I'm working, I don't want to stop. So as a day trader, if you just use liquid egg substitute and put it in a bowl and you microwave it, you literally have scrambled eggs in like 3 minutes and you can just get back to your desk and keep trading. I'm a sicko. A lot of people think it's disgusting, so then I just throw this into the microwave. Watch how good this comes out. This trade that we just took off the table actually reversed exactly from my position and would have stopped us out for realistically a small profit. Okay, the amount of times that I've taken trades off the table too soon and then it's run all day, sometimes things like that are going to work out in your direction. Okay, my intuition with taking the trade off the table ended up being right. It's not always right, but I'm happy that we locked in the $3,200. The more you trade and the more you get the reps in, the more you're going to see what's realistic with the market, what's not realistic, and what you want to sort of sit around for and wait for and what you don't want to wait for. So that's good anyway. anyways, so I'm just gonna eat quickly, hopefully find the next trade soon and get into trade number 2. All right, so checking back on my charts here, we sort of predicted that Ethereum could come up and retest the underside of this trend, come into this fair value gap. Now it did touch basically into the midpoint of this fair value gap and have a response on the underside of this trend. This is where we got a sort of bearish fair value gap on this current move right here. So I set up an entry to try to get short, have it fail off of this level and take a crack down. So hopefully we are able to come back up and fill this order and it rolls over. I have a meeting that I have to get into in like 5 minutes. So I'm basically setting this order up as a fishing order. If it fills during the meeting, I'll be managing it in the background. Hopefully we have a nice trade number 2. So we're gonna see what happens. All right, so looking at this ETH trade, we did get a little bit of a reaction off of our fair value gap and a run down, which is great. We really need this level to break down. And from what I'm seeing, just instinct wise, price action wise, we're following this low level and we have our neckline here that it's fighting. So price is either gonna coil through here and push up. We have our stop loss at break even. It's not gonna take too much for this trade to get stopped out at this point. It's looking likely. However, if it's not able to fill through this wall and it comes back down and retests it and breaks this level, this is going to be a big level to be able to be short into to play a move down. So at this point, like, I'm tempted to take the trade off because I of course want to lock in like $700 to $800, but for that reason I think I have to let this play out and it's probably going to stop out right in my face. All right, unfortunate. So a little break even trade on ETH. Ended up losing $53 after everything. So it's a little bit of a negative balance on the day, but still, nonetheless, pretty good. I felt really confident about this trade. I'm gonna put it as a 3. I am now going to basically put this over in a folder as well. So I'll take all the analysis that I've done, hit this little folder section, and then I'm just gonna go put the date, and then that's the second trade that I took. And then I can mute all this stuff, save it for my analysis, erase that. You can see it reacted off of this bullish fair value gap, and now it's taking a move. But anyways, good start of the day. I'm going to finish up some work over here, step away from the charts for a second, and then try to find trade number 3. So checking the chart, we missed our original entry up here. Price kind of cracked underneath this level and is breaking down. However, I'm noticing something called a head and shoulders formation sort of setting up right here, where we have shoulder, head, potential other shoulder coming down to this area. So I am seeing this as still a potential viable short position. So I'm going to set up another position here into this area, hoping price is able to come up. I'm going to risk over this high still, hoping that we get a touch point off of this underside retest higher up into the head and shoulder zone and get a reversal down for the rest of the day. We do have FOMC coming up at 2. It's about 12:45 right now. So we're gonna see if we can catch this head and shoulders for a trade into FOMC. If FOMC brings bearish news for crypto, then we're going to see an all-day runner. That's really what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to get into something that can run for the remainder of the day. So I'm okay with just sort of tapping in, trying to reduce risk, open ourselves up for opportunities. That's sort of the name of the game. So I have my order set up here. Price wants to move up, continue making a nice move. We're gonna let that trade fill. So hopefully we have a nice move up into our entry to play into the afternoon. A little bit of an annoying update. You can see Ethereum came beautifully up to that exact level that we called. Poked through, technically should have filled my position. I still have my open order. It never ended up filling my order, missed it by a hair. And we would be currently up, what, 3 risk factors? So 1,500, around 2,000 in profit. So I am gonna dead this idea, unfortunately. Good setup, good execution. Head and shoulders did actually come to fruition, but we're not in the trade, so we have to move on. I'm gonna clear this analysis and we're going to look for another trade. Coming off of this Solana move right here, we've had the market basically bleeding off for a good period of the day. We failed to go below this break of structure here, and then we had a change of character. We can see this high was sort of pushed through and there was a displacement area left behind, which is signaled by this green zone here. So I took a discretionary entry right in this area, put my stop loss below this last low. So if it does want to come down and produce a new low, that's fine, but it looks like it already swept sort of that clean level and had a response. So if this wants to start trailing up for the day, I wanted to at least have a position here. Fairly wide stop loss, so this isn't going to be any sort of massive trade even if we do get a pushover, but I am going to try to target a little bit higher of a level, see if we can play this into our FOMC meeting here, because we do have the meeting going on right now, so there could be some volatility in the market, either down or up. So I'm going to hopefully be able to play some bullish sentiment into the market from here on Solana, hopefully be able to get a nice 2K win out of it. we took a loss on that first trade idea here, but we did get a clean break and push underneath here and a massive displacement candle with the change of character. So if it wants to come in, retest the same exact area into the fair value gap, this is something called an order block. So I'm basically trying to tap into an order block right now and see if we can play this trade to the upside. Looks like FOMC is causing some volatility in the market here. So we're going to see if we can come down and get filled off of here after our loss. But while this is moving, I am going to key in my trade. Long took a loss, 619 negative, which brings us down on the day 2,400 off of that $3,100 win. So obviously the losses are eating into us a little bit, but we're looking to take another trade to the upside. We have a 33% win rate today so far. So up $2,400 so far is good. Now we just got to see if this trade is going to fill for us. So I took this trade off for flat. This price action does not look like something that I think is going to have a lot of support here. I think that the market could keep dropping. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I got to find a better setup. So I'm going to walk away from the charts, let the market sort of pick a direction and establish some new opportunities for myself, and then we'll try to find another proper trade. So looking at Ethereum here, we did have a setup in this fair value gap with a big displacement off of resistance, resistance, resistance. We had the FOMC news come in, push through here. Now we're getting a consolidation and a push off of that trend. So if it was going to break down lower, I was going to get out, but I do have a nice little position here. It's a nice size position. So if we are to get any sort of momentum to the upside, we should be looking at a pretty decent sized position. The markets are extremely volatile, so I'm going to be looking to reduce risk pretty quickly. So I want to see a push in our direction and hopefully a continuation into the session. But once again, just nailing a nice entry on this overside retest into the fair value gap. We caught support on that lower candle inside this fair value gap. So hoping for some momentum now on this chart. So we are starting to get a really nice move on this ETH trade here. So I am going to go ahead and put my risk to 0. If this wants to come back down and retest this trend, I'm not staying in this trade. And realistically, I'm probably going to target equal highs here, which is going to get us a 1 to 8 risk reward. So this is either going to come down and stop us out for break even at this point, or we're going to get a nice momentum push up into our full take profit zone. Now I'm going to take a break and let the trade run. All right, so this is going to happen with trading. We had a beautiful setup on Ethereum. So we were exactly right about this exact critical level. We broke over this high. I was targeting these equal highs up to here, which is why I set our take profit up there. Basically failed off of this key level. I could have probably taken more risk factors off the table. So maybe brought my stop loss up to here, or at least up to here. Price comes down, tags it, and then now would have gone up to full profit. That's trading. Anyways, frustrating. But then price basically came down, retagged that critical level, and then just turned ridiculously volatile. So all said and done, I ended up locking in 443 after fees and funding rates. A little bit frustrating because this would have been such a nice big trade, but that is okay. All right, so win is a win. 50% win rate today so far. Like I said, 443. Confidence was, I would say, a 2 on that. Not the best trade. So let's sit back and see what the market is actually doing and see if we can find another trade idea. All right, so I'm really not going to be taking any short positions into Sol. It actually looks relatively strong right now. At least for ETH, I would say it also looks fairly strong. So I'm going to fish around here, try to find some trade opportunities, hopefully get into a trade before I head to the gym. Once I came home, I wasn't able to find any good setups, so I basically just ended for the day to start in the morning. All right, so coming home from dinner last night, this trade didn't live for very long. I was looking to get in on a break of this trend line here. Price started to move roughly in our direction. As soon as we broke underneath that low, I reduced the risk to 0, and then price just came back up straight, stopped the trade out for 0. So I ended up losing $54 on that break even trade. And it was really tempting to sort of force trades and try to find something, but I figured I would wait until the morning. So I was able to find this trade setup here. So I noticed that our overall uptrend on ETH had broken down. We've had a response off of this area. So I sort of let the trend play out a little bit. And then notice how here we got a big enough displacement. The chart really pushed down significantly and sort of made another run up at highs. So I knew that this would be a critical area of potential support. So that's where I started to build my position. Then price came down into that area. That's where I was able to get my entry. We got a reversal right off that sort of midpoint of that fair value gap. We didn't reduce risk here because it never broke that high. Price came back down into that level. Notice how it broke over these high points. It then finally made a nice move up. Then I took profit profit off here at like a 3.73 risk reward. So I was able to take that nice trade this morning and make $1,663. So once again, you can see position was built, price dipped nicely into that zone, pushed up nicely into that area, and I took profit off the table. All right, so after all said and done, the first trade on Solana was really promising into the day. We had our overall 5-wave structure being formed beautifully out of the gate. I got a nice buy signal here, got a really nice retest into this fair value gap, and got a beautiful push up to our take profit level, and was able to lock in $3,151 in total off of the first trade. Okay, second trade was really nice. We found an underside retest here. Price reacted beautifully off of this, had a sell off with a retest into the fair value gap. So I took that sell. Price started to come down. We were up like $2,000-$3,000. So I reduced risk to break even, and then price ended up coming up and reattempting that same level. Later on, we tried to get in on a head and shoulders into this fair value gap, which we missed by a hair. Would have also been an amazing trade opportunity, maybe a couple $1,000s in profit. And typically how it goes, the more you trade, the more you tend to lose, right? I was really setting out to try to hit my daily profit goal. So we had Solana break this trend level here, break above, make a push up to this price action, leaving behind a fair value gap. I got in on this midpoint. It failed to ever break over this high, and then ended up stopping us out for really a $500 risk, but it ended up being up negative 619 on that trade. Okay, this was another really nice trade on Ethereum. Trend level broken here, consolidation along this point towards the lower point of this fair value gap. So I entered my long in here. We trended up all through the afternoon, made a really nice push. I was targeting equal highs over here, and then price ended up never getting there. And within a few candles, really a few minutes, came all the way back down to this swing low, which I had moved my stop loss into profit. And I took this off the table for, after all slippage and fees, only $443. Whereas up here, this was an over $3,000 gain. So some of these trades, like I really was hoping that the market would just play out in that direction, allow the trade to sort of carry. After a big initial win, I'm really open to being a little bit more aggressive on these trades. So had this have just made this move over here and got me out for full profit, that would have been 4,000. So it would have been closer to 7,000. A little frustrating, but that's the name of the game with trading. So still a profitable trade. We contained our risk. Before dinner, was looking to get into this, failed the breakout, ended up stopping me out for another $50 loss, but basically break even trade. Then of course, beautiful retest of this fair value gap after our signal to buy. Entry here, took profit comfortably into this zone at nearly a 1 to 4 risk reward. This would have carried out and probably got me closer to $6,000-$7,000 for my daily goal, but I didn't want this to turn into, you know, this happening and then it taking all day for me to get out of this trade and me taking basically a whole other trading day. So I did close this out a little bit sooner than I would have liked to, but I was able to lock in $1,636 for a total on the day of just over $4,500. So once again, we're treading on that goal. I really want one of those runaway days, and I want to document that with you guys. Just trying to make sure that we're being selective about the trades, keeping the downside contained and letting the upside run. We will eventually get this. I'm just waiting for it, and you guys will be the first to know. If you want these tools, including the Notion tracker or any of the on chart, follow me on Instagram in the description. DM me the word tools, and I'll send everything over to you. If you're still here, like the video, subscribe if you want to know when I put more videos out. Okay, you can check out other live trade videos right here. But until next time, guys, I'll see you all in the next one.